Hello, fellow armed generals. Are you just sick and tired? I'm sick and tired of things. This really isn't about just having to sort of flub the previous intro to this, but still. Oh boy, what could we complain about today in the world? Are you sick and tired of call to actions in videos like, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel? Well, please do. You don't know how much it helps. The great god of Google's AI monitoring system always demonetizes anything strategic command. I think I've said this in another video about strategic command, but and it doesn't. And don't tell me about. Well, maybe it's the audio track, but no, I think I did make a test case where I didn't say anything like strategic or command or world or war or anything like that. It just doesn't like these videos now. So it takes about a week or plus to get a human reviewer. So I normally make a few in a batch to get human reviewed and then put them up there. So it would be super special if you shared these videos somehow, somewhere, even on a Twitch account with 0 followers, with using like a World War I and whatever hashtags that might get out there, because again, the great god of Google search algorithms might promote the video more. So I don't know, but hey, any help, commenting, liking the video, trust me, that all really helps, and I would really love any help I could get. So let's see. Remember, our goal is Paris. We failed to blitz to Paris, so we're trying gamers, well, not really gamers, but Sun Tzu's approach to Paris. He always said, come down to here to go on Paris. No, what he said was, well, we took that, and now that we left it, they've got it back, it looks like. Okay. Just by sheer occupation, whatever. Okay, I'm hoping to wear these guys down. Well, let's entrench you. I know that means they don't attack this turn, but ouch, that hurt a little more than I was anticipating. That's what I was anticipating, that kind of thing. Yeah. So my path to Paris is the indirect approach. Okay, they have artillery defense from there, but hopefully we'll still munch them. Good. Now let's swap these guys out. So if we can kill this unit, that would be well worth whatever the damage. There we go. No, we're not going to try to occupy that, just as we might. Well, no, I guess we can't, but just to make sure that we can do what we can. Okay, yeah, you come down to here. Yeah, might as well start with them first. I was thinking maybe striking over there. No, let's hit here. Maybe no. I was hoping we'd fully take them out. Right, well, you come down here, may be helpful. Good. guess threatening in the rear is maybe the best we can really practically do. We have 3 shells. Well, that's what 3 shells in a Bulgarian core and maybe a bit more. Yeah, good. Oh, good. Oh, they'll probably get points enough to replace the losses, but it's just pounding on them, I think, is important. These guys are particularly weak. Yeah, they're particularly weak. Yes, we'll pay that. And yes, I sent them down here to be occupation forces, in which they will be doing that too, of course, but I think we're going to start them out a bit more down here. Maybe you'll go there, occupy there. I just really want to keep Romania out of the whole thing. The whole thing, the whole war. Okay. Yeah, we've been starving them out, dude, so that looks like it will be successful. There we go. There we go. Okay, well, we've got that dealt with finally. Freeze up forces. Well, I guess first we should take care of these guys in our rear. That looks like to be the best initial assault. These guys, they're hitting without coming from. There we go. Fortress or entrenched sides. How bad is the supply there? Yeah, that ain't doing good. And it's probably partially because of that. No, it'll get better, hopefully. Okay, good. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Or they're at port, so they're getting not really too much we can do about that effectively. So what we're going to see about doing is flooding the area with destroyers. So there's still one down here. Yes. Enemy contact. Again, the port situation. Light cruiser. They have the second best, I believe, anti-submarine capabilities. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Yeah, that looks like a good plan. Oh, that's still a Russian unit there. Man, for some reason, I was thinking that was a German war commander, and I was reacting as if it had been. Okay, you come to there. Man, he even has the flag and all, but I just wasn't paying attention. And that is why I was blockading down here. Okay, so we're going to continue blockading, even now that we have that. I guess we're going to risk the heavy cruiser from a sub attack. There we go. Yeah, so we want to at least come up there, and yeah, we should entrench. Keep forgetting to entrench because too used to playing World War II games where entrenchment, at least at this sort of scale and thing, is not really a thing. Okay, well, I guess you're going to kick this off. Storming the fortress. Have fun storming the castle. That's what we're doing, yay. I don't think they have like their own supply source there. But no, I don't know. And that looks like it's going to just be a bit of a walkover. The Russian national morale has just evaporated, or so it seems. Though I will note that the Turks are having a bit more difficulty facing off against well, we do have Yes, Recon Bombers, so let's use them. We're to bomb them lightly and observe them, see where they are, what they're doing. Okay, well, I guess it's going to be... No, you can get up to here. You that occupies that. You can march to there. Don't know whether down or up is... That's just what I wanted to avoid. I wanted to spot them before moving into contact with them. Oh, damn. Oh, well. I figured there was somebody there, but... I would rather fully take that out. Then partially take out others. Okay, well, let's see. They would get to the same spot. So these guys, no, they just come to here. Don't force march. They can come down to here, I think. Is best. Good thing I did that. Okay, there we go. Oh, good. You can... I don't even know if I should move those up because we're hopefully going to be shifting things west or south or some other direction soon. Okay, now for the dance on the western front here. Okay, that's the unit that we want to kill. It looks like it's going to be pretty damn easy. Okay, good. That was pretty damn easy. Okay, yeah, those two went down. Now, which one? That looks like a tasty one to kill. I'd like to take out this British unit here too. I think we need to try to get some of the artillery down here to do that. That's looking good. That's looking excellent. Okay, because they're not entrenched where that one is. So I'd rather kill 2 or 3 British divisions, or corps, I should say. Yes, yes. Good, good. Okay, now what I want to do here is shift swap max out reinforcements. Shift swap max out reinforcements. So that way next turn we'll have full strength units in the front ready to go. And let's shift you there. Okay. Just moving him to the rear. Took a while to get reinforced there. We want on the railway. And okay, that's best I can do this turn. But we can get you up. Hopefully that'll be close enough next turn to fire down to there. Oh, I don't know. Definitely could fire here, but I don't know that that's a good option. Next turn, well, hey, ooh, yeah, that's looking good. I know this is just a detachment that we're fighting here, but still. Kill another detachment. So 2, 3, 4 corps and a detachment, if I remember correctly, about the strengths and whatnot. Yes, we had losses. Yes, there were casualties. That's true, but no full corps were destroyed, and not even so much as like a division was destroyed. Battered, sure. Lives lost, yes. Costs to replace, yes. In game terms, but I do, quite honestly, I mean, I don't obsess over numbers. Like Hearts of Iron has, feature to see casualty figures and whatnot. I normally don't pay any attention to that stuff, and it's only when people ask me to do I. Okay, what we want to do is shift swap, and then reinforce here on the front line. So you're maxed out and on the front line, just in case somehow they decide to attack. Bombing London. Wow, that wasn't very helpful. At least that wasn't costly. I do, so I don't like to say is obsess over casualty figures, but I do try to think of these in real world terms. I don't know, is World War One where widespread the first time the morality of the war really came into question? That's an interesting concept. I don't know. Could be. That doesn't look like a good attack, so no, we're not going to do it. I know they're destroyers, but still, that's pretty bad. Okay. And I'm not talking because, definitely you had Florence Nightingale and how well the British wounded and whatnot, as well as just generally soldiers were being treated in Crimea. I don't mean it in that sense. I mean whether the war was morally justified or whatever. Is it? That's an interesting concept. Like we've seen now, changing topics here. We saw how it was going to be pretty easy to take on the Russians as the Germans or the Austrians, but not the Turks for some reason. Okay. I know they're not quite up to German standards. We need better supplies. They're being choked of supplies, hopefully. Okay. Well, let's look at research. We're still in 1916. Okay. Armored warfare tank development. Both of those are going good. I mean, good that they're going already, not necessarily that they're. Yeah, let's do this. We want more mobility to swap out units better. We're having trouble with the Russians, so we'll do some anti-submarine warfare. And I think maybe long-term, let's industrial technology going. Okay. That is good. What we gotta remember is Dark Taboo agreed with me forgetting to go to the Iraqi front, if you will, or whatever, Kuwait, or in forgetting to move your submarines as a feature of the game. Yes. Okay, well, I think these guys are going to continue just sort of hanging here, though. I know they're not specifically doing anything particular, but they're also not being sunk. I do think we were ahead of schedule in many ways. So yeah, I like that. Oh, down here. Oh, well, we can get Iran? We can get Iran? Wow. Algiers may very well be the capital for down here, but Iran, we've taken that. The rebels are marching on. Yeah, having them sit back here does, and I guess it could start counter marching to Rabat, but having them sit down here does take away a few, MPP here, but what in the, which we're going to pick up sometime again, the East Front first campaign, though of course we've defeated the Russians there. There's the partisans, the Moroccan rebels, whatever you want to call them, are sitting back here, but they're I think there's 2 or 3 detachments or something, sort of paying attention to them, around them. So that's tying up those troops. Well, so far I don't see troops being tied up here. So, yeah, we want to deny them some MPP, lower their national morale because of taking, victory points, if you will, or whatever you want to call them, away. But like I say, it's better, I think, to move these guys around here to try to distract. Here, it's just, I know they're dug in. I don't know how well these guys get supplied. If I try to march around them, back. And then trench. Wrong way, that way. Yep, now that I see all those guys there, now I was wondering if I could go around. Nope. And these guys can't entrench, but okay. And so hopefully they're looking at supply, and these guys are tying up like that. Bunch of Italian units and a little bit of British, which they may need over here, but if they do that, then we can march there. Okay, that's looking good. Now, well, let's look at purchasing a little bit here. Maritime Bombers. Not that they're going to be overly good, but they may be overly useful. So let's buy those. Austria-Hungary really, doesn't have much you can buy. Torpedo boats, even that's sort of expensive-ish. Yeah, I think another couple of German detachments help occupy places. I'm not sure with this one if we're going to need to occupy in the east, but we've definitely been seeing rebels in the Serbia and whatnot areas. So yeah. Just continuing to improve these a bit since we have the MPP, and I still think in terms of wanting to break out of the Adriatic into the Mediterranean. Maybe that's not good thinking. Maybe they may go out and just get slaughtered. I don't, at this point, want to press deeper into Italy. So, well, we can save for the future, but I think also for the future, again, I'm going to, just for the moment at least, only have Germany do the armored warfare. But we can see about some other developments, like we have been, of course, but fairly cheap, so we'll go with that. Maybe amphibious warfare, because we're gonna see about other things in the Mediterranean. Okay, so since a better army instead of a bigger army, we'll go over to Germany here. We still have a lot of points. Again, saving it is, oh, we're going to on the right. Saving is a good policy because there will be things to do, but I also think now is the time. Yeah, I know obviously there's going to be all kinds of different people play styles, but some of you have been. I really do appreciate your comments about your games between each other or just against the AI. I know one of the comments was AI teaches bad habits. That's very likely possible. Surprise invasions and whatnot that might be needing to keep more reserves, and mentioning that I should keep a reserve in Berlin. Oh, I gotta remember to get those back. Definitely, but I love your comments. Love the stuff in there. But and one of them which got me on this is maxing out research. I think fairly early on. I really believe with this game, or with generally, World War One, it's mobilization early on. So 1914, 1915 is sort of the time to spend in this game's terms, MPP, to get your army up and going, get it, there. Use your points to keep your units particularly where you can, as full strength as possible. Is just get that production, that kind of thing rolling. And as you notice, I did do some industrial and production technology because we're just starting in, relatively speaking, in April 1960. Definitely doing some of this, but really it's a focus on getting everything mobilized and keeping it up to strength to do what you can early. Now that we're in sort of the as I look at it, from 1914 to 1918, 1916 is sort of the middle of the war here. Guess theoretically next turn they could also run the game over, but so things may last longer, may last shorter in the times of years. But I look at this as the middle part, and this is where really I see putting in real effort in what they're calling research here. And of course, if you look at reality, jump to reality away from the game. What is research? And shouldn't nations like early on be doing it? Absolutely. Now, research can be, 20 guys or 100 guys in a well kitted out, machine shop, not a production facility, but just, setting up, doing one-off productions. Trying to make new machine guns or improvements to the standard rifle or whatever it is, and that in this terms is not a lot of resources. And so you get some guys in some shops building new aircraft and prototypes. And that's part of what I see this is doing. But if we look at it as production technology, well, that's not only some guy in a research shop developing a new machine tool, but it's then getting all those machine tools or a new production style, sort of as the world's going along the Henry Ford production style. And I quite honestly don't know how guns were, I've seen a little bit of stuff, but really, how much guns were made? And I say that, I don't mean as in what tools they used. I sort of know that kind of stuff, but in this time period, as in the manufacturing process. I hope this is interesting to you. I know a few of you commented you like some of these talks. You have the thing, you have the machines that makes the parts, and let's look at the Gewehr 98, the rifle. You have a wooden stock, you have some heavily machined and need to be fairly precise parts, things like the barrel, the receiver, the bolt, all of the, the extractor on the bolt, and all of those good pieces needing to come out of machine shops. You have some spring steel made pieces for some, whether it's coil spring or like a leaf spring, however you want to say that in there. You have some other sort of more simplified machine parts, maybe, I don't know, a trigger or something like that, not that there isn't a precision to some of that, but it's not quite as precision either. It's not as precision as the rifling and the, making sure that bolt moves smoothly and the receiver. Sure, the trigger parts that work on other parts need to be sort of precise, and where you put your fingers, you want to make it smooth, but if they're not quite if all triggers don't quite have as detailed quality to them as say the bolts do, it doesn't really matter that much. And then of course you have stamping pieces, there, which maybe the trigger is stamped. I don't remember. I got some of those rifles right around here, but I'm not looking at them at the moment. What pieces were what, and I do know with different, and I'm thinking the Mauser over the years, over time, a bunch of the machine parts turned to stamped parts, things like trigger guards and whatnot. And so all those are made in a bunch of machines. Yes, I get that. And some of them, because they're not, and I don't know if any of them are made with American precision in Europe at this time. I say that is in, and I know better in World War II. British machining was nowhere near the precision quality of the Americans. So pieces, whether it's like tank components as you're building the tank or you're getting a replacement, they have to be fitted. The carburetor comes, and the carburetor just can't be screwed onto the engine of a tank. You have to go, oh, there's a little high spot here. Let's file it down. Oh, no, okay, here, we've got to file this, and you got to fit it. That's why British mechanics in the Army are still called fitters to this day, because you have to fit the parts together. And on the other sort of extreme is sort of the German precision, is sort of overdoing it from the Americans. They a more precision manufacturer, where for the American thing, hey, you got a carburetor for an engine, particular engine type, whether it's tank or truck engine. It doesn't matter which of the 4 manufacturers it came from in different parts of America, and all maybe 4 different companies, for what may be a Chrysler designed motor. But because of World War II, and there was licensing and whatnot, and for some of the stuff at least. But they were all made to the same tolerances. They didn't need to be fitted, and that's the way the guns go. When you put together a 1911, you don't have to fit together any of those parts to come up with a mil spec gun. You just literally dump out buckets of parts. Here's a bunch of barrels, here's a bunch of slides, here's a bunch of frames, and you just put them all together. And you don't need no fitting to put any of that together on a 1911. There is no fitting for assembly, and so. Yeah, I get all of that kind of thing. And so where the British, there is need to be fitting the guns to get them together. Yeah, at least certain key bits and pieces and a lot of the springs and internal mechanisms on revolvers and things. Yeah, they do. But I'm saying made as in the rifle. Does someone sit at a workbench and maybe from a different department, the barrel's been put into the receiver? I recently saw a Forgotten Weapons thing talking about Yugoslav post-World War II manufactured Mausers, in which the barrel, receiver, and bolt were made to work together, fitted basically. But there's a bit more. And then disassemble when they're all marked with the same, not serial number, but another number that was just for those things. Then disassembled and then like Parkerized, and then so that they put the same three back together after Parkerization or whatever, and then, because those are the sort of the three key moving together elements of a Mauser rifle that need to precisely work together. So now this is Yugoslav post-World War II manufacture. So in Tito's Yugoslavia in the 1950s, they were manufacturing new Mauser rifles for their army. Frontline use. Yes, they hadn't yet got the SKS. So they had to be, and some of that, because it's head spacing and other things with the barrel that probably in the American, it would still need to be fitted just because the type of thing is different than putting together a pistol. So that those things have to be done together. But outside of that, for them, the Yugoslavs, all the rest of the bits and pieces can just be put together assembled onto the rifle. Doesn't have to be put together. So there may be that. But see, what I'm wondering is there one person putting all the pieces together in a Mauser rifle in Germany in 1916, or is there one guy who's just putting the barrel to the receiver, and then another guy fitting the bolt into it, and then another guy putting the receiver into the stock and putting a few of those, or putting the trigger grouping and whatever into the stock, a few of those, and then another guy putting does it move along a Henry Ford production line, each person doing, whether it's one job or a couple of sort of related jobs, and then moving on to the next person, or is it one person assembling in a large extent the full rifle? And that is, again, like when we were talking about like production technology, can really speed up or slow down your production, because, and I don't care whether you time it out, because there's different, time motion, studies, whether it's faster and better, and I'm not sure whether it is faster and better to have one person assemble the whole rifle, or have one person assemble one bit of the rifle, and then sort of takes the whether you put it on, whether he takes it from one, because I've seen some of this stuff maybe, but I don't know if those are reconditioning, but, a mobile rack that's on wheels, take a rifle off, do the thing, and then set it on the rack, from his right to his left, and then all that moved on. So you may have more people touching more things in a thing, or it may move along a conveyor belt like thing. I don't know how, or passed on. You may think that there's more manpower, not saying is, because I can see it both ways right now, and I don't know, more manpower in a production line moving along versus a single production, point for a Mauser rifle or something. Again, I'm sort of separating out, obviously, the machine tooling and other things, and that's some of the stuff I know with the racks moving around. We're definitely machine tooling. I'm talking just the assembly, I should say, of the weapons versus, single point assembly. But I know for a fact, whichever, and obviously you can make a production line that's more cumbersome than a single point just by bad design. But I know for a fact it is easier to train up new workers to do one job or one set of jobs, a bunch of them, more rapidly than it is to train one person, or, you can do it in a classroom setting or whatever, more one teacher to 30 students or something. But to train up one person to fully assemble the rifle, the skill level. And it's not necessarily like the smartness level or anything like that. It's just the time it takes you to train and get good at it, training people to do one sort of set of jobs, butt cap on the stock, whatever, whether how much fitting to the wood that may need, and or the metal, and then screwing it in, and that's all they do. And they just and you can have 100 people putting on butt plates, butt caps. Some are a bit more of a cap, some are a bit more of a plate on the back of the stock, and that's all they do. And you train them up to do that, and that's going to be easier than training one person to do the whole gun. And so this production technology, before Henry Ford, to my knowledge, there was no significant size, systematic production line. One person puts on the left rear tire and another or wheel onto the thing. They've already put the tire onto the wheel, assembled the whole wheel mechanism, but put the left rear wheel on the car, the automobile, and somebody else is putting the right rear wheel on it, and maybe 4 people all doing all that at once, and then it moves on to the next thing on the line. He is the first one to, at scale, do a systematically designed production line. To my knowledge, he is the first. Henry Ford, for bad things that he believed and promoted, he definitely did. But for developing that was a great benefit to mankind in many ways. So, and you got to realize Henry Ford, is starting out a bit before World War I, but I don't really know how much his production line, as because they definitely had major factories prior to him, but it wasn't the quite automated line. It very well may have been specialized, and I'm sure because we can talk about the machining, and the guy who machines some of the parts isn't the guy who's parkerizing those parts or whatever. And you very well may move bits and pieces around a factory to do things, but that production line technology is a forward developed thing right around starting before this. But just because Ford's doing it in his one factory doesn't mean that anybody's doing it in Europe. And so you have to understand that. So I can readily see this as research points here, is what they're calling them, but it's coming off of, MPP, what is military production points or whatever. I don't know exactly what. All these different games, because they're all stepping on each other, have to worry about what to call these type of things. And it isn't just mana. This is how much industrial effort do you take in retooling or reorganizing or whatever your factory, training your workers to work differently, getting all of that spread out. That's going to take time, whether it actually takes resources to change a factory, or simply that you're reorganizing factories disrupts their other, what would be just the simple use of these same points, as replacement weapons to go to the front line. So it slows up other production. So I totally, and yes, this is simplified. I don't know whether spying and intelligence really, sure, there'll be some of the intelligent people that are decoding things, and maybe they're building radio interception devices. I don't know what it might be, but some of this might not fit neatly into some of these categories. But I can readily see that most all of this stuff isn't just some group of guys somewhere in some design place trying to build the first tank. It's building that tank, it's driving the tank around to see that it works, it's doing all that stuff, but then it's trying to manufacture a bunch of the tanks and see that they work, and how to teach the workers to manufacture them, and then teach, which is some of this maybe over in armored warfare, teaching the soldiers of how to drive the tanks, how to load and shoot the tanks. So I can readily see that this, getting it, and it's not the one guy making the one, prototype. It's expanding that out, changing the way people fight. Again, some of this, and you need to spend resources to have guys out in the training fields, wherever that be, where it's France, England, the United States eventually, is training with tanks, infantry working beside tanks and whatnot. I don't, and so all of this I can readily see. And so you have to understand how great World War I changed the world in many ways, including production. Okay, well, let's see. We still have 386 points. Fighter, tank, ground attack. I don't have to just spend here to spend, but I don't know if we should do amphibious warfare. Maybe we wait a little bit on that. Logistics, we are already at 2. Logistics. Transport costs increase. Oh, let's do artillery weapons. That would be very useful. And we still have plenty here. We're just going to sort of save that, I think. Let's look at diplomacy. Yeah, okay. Romania is somewhat towards Russia, but Russia's collapsing. Most of these other things are doing fairly well towards us. Okay. Portugal, I'm not that worried if Portugal comes in to it. Portugal, really, yeah, they do send, I think it's 2 divisions to the Western Front. They didn't have much, if any, of an arms manufacturing. They really didn't in World War II, so I don't think they had here. Spain had an arms manufacturing sort of up in this part, I believe, of Spain before World War I, and it booms during World War I, mostly selling to the French, but a bit to some other peoples as well, including, I think, some contracts down in here during the war. Portugal really isn't going to manufacture much directly for the war effort historically, but where they count is, and to some degree it's going to do, is in Africa. Mozambique is just south of Tanganyika, where you have Vorbeck down there running around fighting a lot. So yeah, having them in the war matters a bit more in Africa, but we don't have an proper African front down here to worry about. Well, I think we're going to end this episode here. We're going to, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. I know I talked about this in the beginning. Please like, tweet, share on any sort of social. Oh no, we don't want to overwrite existing. I don't know which game it may be. Okay. It doesn't matter how widely it gets spread out, just a little bit does get seen by the great Google gods, and it will help. So I really do appreciate that, and I love your comments, as well as corrections, because if I'm saying something because I do sort of know what I'm talking about, but if I'm getting some of the details or something else wrong, please let me know. I do want to learn, as well as if you're watching, you can scroll down and look at the comments to see if there's anything interesting to read or whatnot. There are corrections included. So see you next time.